All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you get the opportunity to watch this recording or be a part of this conversation. I am Colonel Jason Metzger. I am the 31P Security Forces Officer, Career Field Manager, the CFM. I've got a team of folks on the call you can see. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Nugent is in this call as well. He is the Deputy CFM here at the Pentagon with me. Then we've got Major Sam Simpkins and Captain Kevin Farmer. They are both at AFPC and our assignments team. You'll often hear somebody say the OAT, OAT, the Officer Assignments Team. And then also in the camera here is Colonel Prindle. You'll see that he is wearing his civilian attire. He is the IMA to my position at the Pentagon, and as the IMA, he is often involved in everything we do. This is a total force effort, and he often helps us key in on those things that are guard and reserve, so that we keep the family always in tune to what's going on in the career field. So again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to allow us to speak to you. We recognize this is a very important decision in your future military career. We all know that you will make the right decision and choose security forces as your AFSC. But what we are going to do is help maybe shed some light on why that is the best and right decision for you to make as you take your first steps and walk in your Air Force career. What I'm going to do is turn the mic and everything over to Major Simpkins. She'll go through a couple of questions that we've been given to answer as we kick it off. And then Major Simpkins will turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Nugent. He'll pick up some of the secondary pieces of the conversation, and then I will open it up for any conversation if there's any out there afterwards. So over to you, Sam. You're off.
All right. Thank you, sir. So as Colonel Metzger said, I'm Major Sam Simpkins, and I currently work at the Air Force Personnel Center as the Security Forces Officer Assignment Team. So I just wanted to get into really some wave top, what you can expect being a Security Forces officer starting out. And you will learn all of this once you get selected and get to your first base and all that. But the more you know sooner, obviously we want to try to get you over to our side. So hopefully, you consider security forces. So starting out, I just wanted to talk about really our 4 main missions that you could find yourself doing around the world. We need defenders everywhere. So the first one is base defense. With the great power competition currently that we're focusing on. We're really going more towards base defense, although we've had, our base defense group and our contingency response squadrons, both at Moody and a few other places where the Air Force is considering how they're going to be made up in terms of base defense. So what is base defense? Think you're training stateside to then go overseas, deploy, think austere environments, and defending a base from a potential enemy adversary. And that comes with its own special security considerations. The next one you have is flight line security. Again, that could be anywhere depending on the aircraft that we have on the installation. And that also requires certain levels of security based on, the importance of the aircraft. The next one is nuclear security. So think like, your missile bases, guarding missiles, and a few locations overseas. The nukes that we would that we safeguard, and we would potentially, load up on planes and go over and do what we need to do. So nuclear security, again, mostly are those northern tier bases, and that's a no-fail mission. So it can be very stringent, very strict. It's very black and white, because obviously we want to deter our adversaries and ensure that nuclear weapons don't get in the hands of our enemies. The last one, although we aren't focusing on this mission set as much, you could also find yourself doing this. Again, depending on the base. You're going to hear me say it depends a lot, because each of our units is made up a little differently. But the fourth main mission is law enforcement. So think really anything you would respond to at a civilian police department. So as small as you know, writing traffic tickets for speeding on base, all the way up to, unfortunately, domestics, gate runners. There have been people who have tried to come through the gate, the installation gate with malice, trying to do either as much damage as possible or get to the flight line, and who knows what else. So law enforcement, we are still doing that mission, but like I said, we're trying to go more towards that base defense. So now getting over to what you can expect when you enter onto active duty. So you will go to your assigned base, and then you'll go TDY, so temporary duty, to the Security Forces Basic Officer course, and that is at Camp Bullis, Texas, here in San Antonio. So it's an Army post. Uh, you will do things like rucking, going out in the field. There's lots of hills and forests at Camp Bullis. You'll do land nav, small unit tactics. You'll find that a lot of our training is um, Army centric, with obviously our Air Force flavor. Um, I hear now they do taser and OC spray. That didn't happen when I went through. But we did Red Man, so think your non-lethal weapons, but then you'll also fire what will be your duty weapons, and you'll qualify on that. So some of the firing, which is the handgun, the rifle, and then you'll also carry, when you do small unit tactics, the 249 and then the 249 Bravo, which on the operational side, your enlisted will carry those. Um, so again, we touch on some law enforcement, we do combatives. So once you get your badge and beret, you'll go back to your first base and you'll become a flight commander. Um, so day in the life of a flight commander, again, depending on what base you go to, you could be a flight commander for a flight of around 30 to 40. That's what I started out with my first base being Barksdale Air Force Base. But if you go to the missile field, you're talking like 70 to 100, maybe over 100 that you're over. And that sounds intimidating, but you're not alone. So you'll have your flight chief, which is usually a master sergeant, just depends. And you are in charge of that flight. So both on and off duty, but when you're on duty, you're essentially that shift commander. And so what that means is you will, so just a day in the life, like I said, you will do what's called, you'll arm up with your duty weapon, you'll do what's called guard mount. That's where the flight literally forms up in the guard mount room, and the flight chief and the flight commander go over any pertinent announcements, anything that happened, any changeover from last shift, and just anything, safety briefings, other types of briefings. And then you'll break from there and they'll post out. So think like your gates, posting at the gates, your patrols that can rove around base, your flight line patrols, posts and patrols, and then anything else, any other posts unique to that base. So they'll go out for that shift. And so again, it depends on what base you go to, what shift you'll work. So I've pretty much, and I think I can speak for everyone else on the team, I've worked every shift you could think of probably. We tried to get out of 12-hour shifts. Manning doesn't always support that, but usually it's 8-hour shifts, and it can be any combination of days. We have days, swings, mids, so it just all depends on what you get assigned to. Okay, so everyone's out on their post and patrols. You might go to your office and do a little admin, let everyone get settled, do what they need to do their checks. Um, Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil to do admin as an officer, so you will be behind the desk a little bit. As a flight commander, at least, as you rank up, you'll get behind a desk a little bit more. But you have the flexibility then during that shift to go out and do post visits and post checks. So post visits is where you're just going to each post and patrol, and you're just getting to know your airmen. You're just, shooting the breeze with them. And then post checks are a little bit different in that you are, making sure that they know their job, that they're proficient in their job. We put our entry level airmen, their entry level certification is actually at the entry control point, the front gate. And you heard me mention earlier that people have come through the gate with bad intent, and we put our, like I said, we put our entry level at one of our most vulnerable points. So we want to make sure that they are getting the knowledge that they need, and we also run exercises. The flight chief will help with that. Your NCOs will help, but you do have to do one, maybe even two per shift. Um, and I want to mention too, nuclear security could look completely different than this. So like, you could start out in the guard mount room, and then you're trekking out, up to a few hours to get to a missile alert facility. So again, it looks a lot different depending on where you are, but this is the gist of it. So we talked about post visits, post checks, exercises, and then admin and everything like that. So just ensuring for that shift that you're taking care of your flight to enable them to do the job, to do the mission. So in closing, just went over the main mission sets, with base defense now being the focus of our mission, but there's also flight line security, nuclear security, and law enforcement. We went over what you can expect when you enter active duty. So you'll go to your base, go to the 4-month basic officer course, and then go back to your base where you're a flight commander. And lastly, I went over what you can expect from a typical duty day as a flight commander. Just ending on a personal note, I have a lot of pride in being a defender, and it's been a crazy ride. I think anyone could tell you it's been an adventure, and you'll hear over and over, we lead early and often. And like I said, that can be intimidating, but you learn and you grow, and hopefully you have some good mentors. You lean on your NCOs because they've been doing it for years. Also, what I've said to people in the past is that I won't sugarcoat it. Again, as I'm sure the team here will tell you, you have airmen, young airmen at the gates, in the missile field, and they're having to pull shifts, sometimes 12 hours. And so it's really up to you as that leader to figure out how to maintain morale. It's not always going to be there just by nature of the job. And that, let's say you're doing law enforcement too, you're really seeing the worst in people. Not saying everyone's bad, but you're enforcing stuff that people, don't want to do because they're obviously breaking the law in some capacity. And so again, that's just helping you weigh options. But what I can personally say is, I've grown and I've learned so much being an officer in this career field, and I wouldn't trade my experiences for anything really. So one last thing before I hand it back over to Colonel Metzger, for any cadre that we have on right now and who will watch this later, I'm going to throw my email address out there. If your cadets have any questions at all regarding security forces, please just send them my way, and I'd be happy to answer any, because at the end of the day, we want y'all, we need y'all, and if you want to lead, you came to the right place. So my email address is Samantha.Simpkins, SIMPKINS, at us.af.mil. We stay pretty busy here at AFPC, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Colonel Metzger. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Sam. Great rundown of what you can expect as an entry-level officer into the career field. We'll do a little bit more discussion with Colonel Nugent about what might come in your future and what you can expect as a career officer in security forces. Dave?
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you, Major Simpkins, for talking about what a security forces lieutenant will do. As an officer becomes a captain, they'll serve as the operations officer in the squadron, where they will lead daily operations. Additionally, they'll serve as the deputy commander in the unit and assist the squadron commander in leading all of their airmen. After the person promotes to major, they normally will command a squadron as a major, as a security forces officer, and then later again as a lieutenant colonel. Throughout one's field grade officer years, we also have opportunities to serve as a staff officer at places like the Pentagon, on the air staff, or on the joint staff, and also around the world at combatant commands and also Air Force major commands. Security forces officers also have unique training opportunities throughout their career. And so every year we get seats to the United States Marine Corps Expeditionary Warfare School. We also get seats each year to multiple in-residence graduate degree programs. And security forces officers also have the opportunity to attend programs like the Army Airborne School, Air Assault School, and also Ranger School as well. And later on in an officer's career, as a security forces colonel, colonels command security forces groups, and some of our colonels have the opportunity to be a wing commander one day. And then finally, the director of security forces located in the Pentagon is a brigadier general position. And currently, our director of security forces is Major General Sherman. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Colonel Metzger. Now back over to you, sir.
Thanks, Dave. Great rundown of what you can see in an entire career from both Sam and Dave. So appreciate your inputs there. Let me throw a couple of things out before we look at questions. But I'll ask Kevin, anything that we missed from your perspective, Kevin Farmer, if there's anything you'd like to add?
No, sir. I think they covered it very well. Other than that, I think you just have unlimited opportunities in security forces. And don't forget that our career field, we're at every base. So when you're looking at some of the other career fields, such as rated or any of these other ones, you are limited on your base choices. But in security forces, you can go anywhere. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at AFSCs.
Yeah, so thanks, Kevin. All right, so a couple of things I'm going to add. What are we looking for in a security forces officer? What kind of qualities and characteristics do we need in our career field? Well, as you heard both Sam and Dave talk through some of those of the things you're going to see and do as a lieutenant and a captain, leadership comes to mind right off the bat. We are looking for folks that are confident in their skill set, that they can critically think and make decisions without a lot of information. There are so many instances where in our world, time is of the essence, and you don't have the extra second to go back and say, hey, what do you think? We carry weapons. We're the only service that carries weapons loaded, one in the chamber, and the weapon on fire 100% of the time, all day on post. None of the other services do that. And so you are given a position that requires instantaneous thought with a critical mind always on point. You're responsible to save lives. And I think that that is something that we often miss. On a daily basis, your job is to respond to the bad while everybody is running away from the bad. You're going toward the bad. And you've got to have courage. You've got to be ready to face challenges that most airmen and others aren't ready to face. You can't hesitate. You can't grab a hold of your buddy and try to do this as a team effort. Sometimes you're going to have to be solo, and you have to go to the threat of violence and fix it immediately. So understanding both of those things, where leadership is important, courage is important, you also have to be able to have patience and not overreact and not get yourself or your team in trouble. You have to lead with an aptitude with confidence, being sure of yourself. That means both your mind needs to be physically fit and your body needs to be physically fit. As you walk around the world, the country, you see people in all walks of life. They're all requiring your ability to both mentally and physically save them. So you've got to stay fit. We put a lot of emphasis on your ability to remain physically fit at all times. You will see squadron PT. You will see flight PT. We will talk to you about your physical fitness on a regular basis. Again, this comes back to saving lives. And it's important that we have all of these pillars together and they're all working in cohesion. We obviously need people that can team well, both from a leadership position and a followership position. So those that have played sports and succeeded are going to be valuable. If you held a position on a sporting team, it's also very valuable. And we're looking for your ability to communicate well with the public under some pretty unfavorable circumstances. Normally, when we interact with someone in the public, it's not on the best of circumstances, and you are going to face scrutiny. And they are not afraid to use whatever means available from their perspective that they can. And you can't make the mistake. So it's leadership, it's critical thinking, it's courage, it's physical fitness, it's teaming. It's all of these things captured together as one person, that as an individual. But really, if we build a bunch of those people together, you can imagine the quality of the team that you're going to be a part of in the future. We are a family. We talk about ourselves as the Defender family. There is no organization that is going to take care of you like ours. We pride ourselves in being a close-knit group of people that care for one another, that support one another, and that we're always there to pick up your ruck and carry it when it's a little bit heavy for you. And we ask you to pick up the ruck for us when it's a little bit heavy for us. We carry on together as a team, as a family. So that's some of the stuff that we talk about. Let me double check back into the questions. We did talk about that Sam Simpkins is really the person that is your connectivity to the career field should you have any future questions. Kevin's getting ready to go off. Kevin Farmer's getting ready to go off and take command of his first squadron, and Sam is going to carry on the reins as we continue to do the CFM tour, the Career Field Manager tour. So definitely Sam is your best point of contact in the future. So I'm looking at the side here to see who we've got in the mix of things. I don't know that there are many cadets out there, but we'll pause. to see if there's any questions that we can answer live.
Good morning, sir. I just wanted to say thank you for hosting this meeting, give us the insight on what security forces is as an officer. One of my main questions that I've been thinking about is what are some of the best ways to keep morale up with defenders, especially given circumstances where they are on shift for long hours and sometimes have to deal with a lot of stuff. So what are some ways to help keep them in good spirits?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you. I'm going to go back to the family thing. We do a very good job of taking care of one another. You will see that the defender family thrives in environments where others cannot, where those type of situations are the situations that we quickly learn how to perform well, how to share stress, and how to recover effectively when those times occur. We are very good at having Friday afternoon burger burns. We are very good at having unit events where families are brought together and spouses and children are part of the fun. We are very good at you'll see your airmen will share a dorm together, and they're very good at having conversations in the day room. And for officers, as you step in, right, you got to know that those things are occurring, and when is the right time to step in. You'll have, for example, if you go off to a missile field base, a global strike command base, that organization is going to have a lot of lieutenants running around, and you'll be able to bounce ideas off of one another. If you end up at some of our other bases, you may be the only lieutenant in your squadron. Heck, you might not even have a captain. You could just have a lieutenant and then your major or lieutenant colonel who's your commander. And your ability to go off and make friends and team with other lieutenants in other organizations across the enterprise is going to be hugely helpful. And so understanding how to do that as a family is important. Understanding how to communicate with your peer group, even in and outside of the squadron, will be important. And really just focused on taking care of those airmen when they need taken care of. It's going to be very important. Dave, Sam, anything I missed there that you'd like to add?
Just one thing, sir. So I did mention post visits, and so it's really important that you go out and just let your airmen know that you care, and don't fake it. Obviously, don't, just kind of feed them some lines because they'll be able to tell. But I think just going out and embracing what they're doing with them, asking them questions, will go a long way while you're on shift. But obviously all the off shift stuff is important as well. But also just showing that you're there and that you care, and you'll do your best for them on shift as well.
Thank you, Sam. This conversation of on shift and what's going on with, we see people sometimes at their worst. There's plenty of times when we see a lot of people at their best as well. And those moments in time all can help offset when we see people at their worst. Some of that is associated with the law enforcement mission that we often talk about, but I want to make it very clear and make sure everybody understands that although law enforcement is a critical piece to air-based defense, we are the DoD in the Air Force is a warfighting machine, and our ability to provide effective protection in a combat theater is important. We do provide law and order today on an Air Force installation. Tomorrow, that mission is going to be maybe less populated with security forces, military members, and the combat mission may be more populated with it. who knows? The Air Force is going through some radical change today to get after the near-peer threat and what great power competition looks like, and we're doing a great job of trying to balance all of those different missions together. And where does the Air Force need us to go? Right now, today, we're focused on that combat mission. So you will see a lot more of that combat-oriented. I hate to compare to infantry, but you're going to see a lot more of something that could be infantry-like in our future. It's definitely going to have the Air Force flair. There's something to be said about what the Army can do for a ground-based maneuver element versus what we do as air-based defense. There are similarities, but we are definitely a different organization. So you'll see that law enforcement piece of base defense maybe be not so prominent as much as the combat piece of air-based defense in the future. Dave, anything you want to add there?
No, sir, nothing to add.
Okay. I'll pause for any questions, and then I'll answer some maybe things that we've gotten in the past. Do a little jig, sitting in a chair, waiting for somebody to ask a question.
I have a follow-up question. Thank you for answering the first one, though. So I'm actually going to be commissioning this May as a security forces officer.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, like, what are some of the important things to keep in mind, or like some of the things I should focus on once I get to my first station?
Yeah. So first thing I'm going to tell you is do well in the job that you're in. Pay attention to what's going on in your surroundings. Learn as much as you can. You will often hear in the security forces environment that someone will say, attach yourself to a quality NCO and learn from that NCO. Oftentimes that turns into you become buddy with the NCO and can lead to bad things. There's very much a difference between attaching yourself to a quality NCO so that you can learn from that quality NCO and then taking that relationship down a path that's going to get you in trouble. I will tell you that if you are doing the job you are placed in well, you will succeed. And I will tell you that as you go through and find those good NCOs, if your gut is telling you that this NCO is not a good one, don't attach yourself to that NCO. There are good NCOs and there are bad NCOs. There are good officers and there are bad officers. You know which ones are which. You're going to figure it out. You've learned that in ROTC. You learned that growing up as a kid. You knew who the bad kids were in school. You know who the good ones were. Find yourself a good one and attach yourself to that good NCO. They will teach you a lot. Stay humble. Know that your airmen or security forces airmen are asked to do some of the toughest things. They endure all types of weather. Just because it's raining, we don't get to go inside. Just because it's snowing and it's below freezing, we don't get to go inside. They don't get to go inside. When it's bazillion degrees outside, you get to stand out there with a wool cap on your head and try to figure out how you're not going to sweat through 2 layers of clothing and body armor. Your airmen and you as a lieutenant are going to be asked to work all of the time. When COVID hit and everybody was teleworking from home, defenders were on the gates running around responding to all of the missions that were out there. We don't get a break. Your airmen aren't going to get a break. And so you've got to be able to jump in and lead those airmen and do well in the job that you're in. I saw something in the chat. What popped up there in the chat? Mine isn't reading. Ian, what did it say?
It is unrelated, sir. Just that cadets, if they have questions that are watching this recording, can send it over to Sam.
Roger, that's the squirrel moment from a colonel. You'll see that happen all the time. Okay. Any other questions?
Captain Walters here.
What's up, man?
I guess for the cadets, can y'all highlight sort of what your favorite installations that you've been to have been, or if you've been to like one of those, bad installations, how you sort of worked through that?
Sure. So first thing I'll say is there is no such thing as a bad installation. You can make it a bad installation, but the Air Force doesn't have bad installations. Your attitude going into that installation is what's going to make it good or bad. You will hear a lot of people say Minot sucks. Minot doesn't suck unless you make it suck. The Minot is one of the close-knit families we have in this career field. You get to do a ton of great things. Outdoor opportunities are wonderful. And of course, everybody wants to go to Florida, right? And if everybody wants to go to Florida, who's going to go there? Nobody. Killing me. Florida's a great place. You get to go. Everybody wants to go to the beach, right? I need you to focus on being a defender, not your surfing skills for the afternoon. I need you to figure out how to lead people in combat, not the ski slopes of Vail during the winter season. So, but those are also things that make bases great. You get to go do some of those things with your group. So you got to balance that stuff together. My world, specifically talking to me, my world, I spent a lot of time deployed, and arguably, I will tell you that some of my best installations were in the Middle East. In fact, today, for those of you that don't know, maybe yesterday, I think we're beginning Ramadan, right? And yesterday, I got a text message from a Kuwaiti lieutenant colonel. He's a colonel now. He's in the Kuwait Army, and he sent me a text message today that said, many blessings to you and your family through Ramadan. I'm a Christian. He knows that. He's Muslim, and that's the beauty of what we get to do together. You get to go out, meet other people and other cultures, and learn about them and build friendships that last. I was with this gentleman in 2016. And we still talk to each other. So the bases aren't bad. It's what you make of them. My favorite happened to be in the Middle East because I made some great friendships there. I think the position probably plays a little bit of role in that too. When you become an ops officer, you are going to work more than you've ever thought you were going to have to work in your life, because the squadron commander is going to put a lot of pressure on you and demand a lot. When you're a lieutenant, you can look at the boss and go, sir, I'm just a second lieutenant. I didn't know any better. And you're going to get that pass once. That pass goes away a little bit when you're a captain, and it surely goes away when you're a major. But mine was in the Middle East. I'll let the rest of the team answer those questions. Dave, we'll start with you. Go down rank.
Sure. Yeah, like Colonel Metzer said, just do the best in the job you're in. And as Captain Farmer said earlier, security forces is at every Air Force installation. And so if you're looking for a career field where you have an opportunity to be stationed in the United States, also overseas, in Europe or the Pacific, security forces is a career field that has many different assignment opportunities. I had a phenomenal experience when I was at Joint Base Andrews. I loved my time in the Security Forces group at Joint Base Andrews. It was a diverse mission set. It was a busy base. There was a lot of activity there, and I enjoyed it due to the high operational tempo at Joint Base Andrews. And so I'd have to say Joint Base Andrews in Maryland was my favorite assignment. Over to you, Major Simpkins.
Okay, it's between two for me. So I was at Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi. That one stands out to me because I did a lot of growing at that unit. So I came in as a first lieutenant, operations officer, promoted to captain. I knew captain would be the most fun rank, by the way. When I was a lieutenant, I couldn't wait to get to captain. When I promoted to major, I was so sad because I wasn't going to be a captain anymore. Anyways, so just did a lot of growing as the operations officer. My other favorite would be Incirlik, Turkey. And so that was what we call a short tour. That was a year long, and then you get like a mid tour leave somewhere in between that. But at the time we couldn't go off base. Um, but I think that made the base like work that much harder to make it a fun place for us. And the mission was cool too. And then I got to work with the Turkish Air Force, got to know some of the locals who worked on base, and so it was just it was an eye-opening experience for sure. Over.
Awesome. Well, I'll say I'll give one of the best and not one of the worst, but just a tough experience. So my best location, hands down, very similar to Major Simpkins, was on a short tour. I was at Kunsan Air Base, Korea. And the main reason is there's no families there, so you just have your peers around you. Never been closer to a group of officers and senior NCOs than I was at Kunsan Air Base. And to this day, we still have a group chat with everyone in there that we all still chat with. And just like Colonel Metzger said, with the foreign nation partners, is I still keep in contact with some of the Korean officers that I work with there, and we'll text each other happy birthday, everything like that. And even to the point, I got to actually be in one of the Korean officers' weddings while I was over there. So I got to be one of the groomsmen and holding up the sword, the saber, as they walk down the aisle. So it's just an awesome opportunity that I've never ever experienced since then, but it was great. And you'd think, oh, after that, like, how can it get any better? I got Aviano Air Base, Italy. I was so excited. I think it's been voted as like one of the #1 most beautiful Air Force installations, and it's Italy, right? You're thinking wine, pizza, pasta, and sure enough, it's got all that. But you want to talk about one of the most busiest, demanding jobs ever. Like Colonel Metzger said, operations officer Kevin Farmer, didn't have much downtime to myself. It was just so busy. So just think about that when you're looking at locations, and it may seem like a dream, but they're tough jobs at those locations, and it's the people that truly make the locations that you go to and the leadership that you have there. You can be in the worst place ever, but have the best leadership ever. And that's truly what makes an assignment, not just the location. Over to you, sir.
Thanks. Those are great answers. Any other questions out there?
Yes, sir. I have a little more specific question for anyone that can answer, really.
Okay.
For Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, not too familiar with it since it's pretty far from where I'm at, but I don't know if it's a big squadron or if it's on the smaller side or if the main mission is law enforcement. If anyone could answer, like, more or less, what could I expect at that base?
Well, I think we could all answer that. Raise your hand really quickly if you want to answer it. Yep, got it. So it is go, Dave.
Sure, thanks, sir. Yeah, so JBAB is a critical installation here in the National Capital Region. It's a medium-sized security forces squadron, and primary mission of base defense along with law enforcement, due to the nature of some of the missions that reside on JBAB. And so that's the type of base where you're not only going to get exposed to base defense and law enforcement, but you're also going to get exposed to our interagency partners and be able to work with multiple federal law enforcement agencies. So that's a great opportunity for you as a lieutenant to not only learn a lot about our career field, but also learn about the interagency. So yeah, that's really going to be a great assignment to go to as a new second lieutenant.
The current commander there is phenomenal, by the way. He's PCSing when this year, next 24, 25.
2025, sir.
Yeah, so you're lucky. You're going to get to work with Lieutenant Colonel Mercurio. He's a public affairs officer by trade. Another thing that we do different in our career field, we bring in opportunities for other career fields to lead our airmen. We send them through tech school and then make them a defender. And then we send them off to lead some of our organizations. And he's one of the best that has done that. And you'd have no idea he's a public affairs officer by trade. He is a defender through and through, and we may have done a good enough job that we're going to keep him. We'll see if he wants to go back. But thank you. Good answer, Dave. Great base. Lots going on. A lot of senior officers over there that help you define your mission. So I'm gonna throw out a question that we get oftentimes about serving together in the joint spouse capacity. Our career field is, because of one of the things that Kevin said earlier, because we're at every base, we are able to support joint spouse a lot. There's always some give and take there, but plenty of us are married joint spouse. Some of us on this call are joint spouse. I am actually joint spouse married to a guardsman. And so my wife spends a lot of time TDY. She's a traditional guardsman, DSG, drill status guardsman, as they call it, and an active duty. So she gets to go back and forth for her drill out of Michigan, and I get to live my life every day in the Pentagon. It's awesome. But we do often get that question a lot about joint spouse, and yes, it is a career field that would support a joint spouse family well.
Thank you. I appreciate the answers.
Yeah, man. Good, Dave.
For Major Simpkins and Captain Farmer, can you talk about the assignment policy for CGOs and nuclear security assignments?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So as members of AFPC, we kind of set the rules for time on station and PCS, and we handle all the assignments in the career field, right? So with that, as a first-time term lieutenant going to your base, at your 2-year mark or 24 months, you are eligible only for an overseas assignment. So once you hit that, and that would be 24 months at the time that you would move. So let's say you get to your base in June 2024, you'd be eligible to PCS to an overseas only location in summer or June of 2026. So 2 years later, right? With that, just realize there's a lot of other officers competing. So just because you're eligible to move does not mean that you will move during that time cycle. Now, on the other hand, you're eligible only as a lieutenant for your first assignment to PCS anywhere at 36 months time on station or 3 years. So if you got there in June of 2024, in June of 2027, you can move anywhere, overseas, CONUS, wherever. After that, though, let's say it's your second assignment. If you are in a CONUS location or within the United States, excluding Alaska and Hawaii, you are only eligible to move within continental United States at 48 months or 4 years time on station. So it gets pretty stringent once it comes to your second assignment. But if you're going to an overseas assignment, you get an automatic date of when you're going to head back to the U.S. or another assignment known as a DROS. So your date of estimated departure from that location, right? So you don't have to worry too much about that. But just pay attention once you come into active duty, you're going to get something known as the Air Force Officer Assignment System Timeline. As soon as you see that, print it out, make sure it's on your wall, pay attention to those timelines, and talk with your supervisor and commander, because a lot of what you talk about is whether they're going to reclama you to keep you in place and develop you as an officer for your career development, or perhaps they're going to let you go onto that cycle and have the eligibility to move to an overseas or stay in continental U.S. assignment. So a lot of possibilities, but it's kind of in your hands as well as your commanders, but make sure you keep that line of communication open once you do come on active duty, and talk to them about your development and what do you want to do? Do you want to go overseas, or do you want to stay within the U.S.? Because a lot of that is determined by what you want out of your career. Back to you, sir.
I'll give it another 10 seconds for questions, and then I'll do another thing.
Sir, I have one more question.
Send it.
So I was like looking at stuff like Raven Dagger and those programs. Not
Yes.
thinking about it at this moment, but later on in my career, those are two groups that I'd be interested in doing. So I'm wondering what that would look like for officers and what the process to join them would be.
Yeah, I will allow Dave to talk about that. Dave is one of our Ravens currently. So over to you, Dave.
Sure, copy, sir. So the Phoenix Raven program is within Air Mobility Command to secure mobility aircraft in austere environments overseas. And so if you're assigned to an AMC base, you may have the opportunity to go to Raven School, which is at Joint Base McGuire in New Jersey. It's about 4 weeks long, and officers occasionally get the opportunity to go. It's primarily for our enlisted force to attend, but if you're an officer assigned to one of those AMC installations, then you may have an opportunity to go. The same is said for our AFSOC Dagger program. However, the one difference from what I talked about for Raven is that there actually are officer Dagger positions around the world, and then also at our AFSOC bases in the United States. And so officers definitely have the opportunity to go to Raven School, and also have the opportunity to go to Dagger School. And we have multiple Dagger flight commander positions throughout the world.
Cool. Anything else? Any other questions? Count my 10 seconds.
Yep. One more question.
Yeah.
I'm heading off to Tinker Air Force Base in Lake George.
Yeah.
If anybody has insight of what that base is like and what security forces there would be like.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you can connect with Sam, with Major Simpkins, we will get Major Simpkins to help connect you with someone at Tinker. So Tinker's a giant base. There's a lot going on. There's a depot maintenance facility there. You got AWACS running around down there. There's a lot going on at that installation. A lot of fun to be had, but I can explain that it's a lot more law enforcement than it is air base defense at the moment. But we need to let you connect with the people that are on that installation and give you a good perspective of what's going on there. So Sam, if you could shoot a note to Major Simpkins, she will connect you with the right people. Talking with my hands. Lastly, okay, so pause on that. Any other questions? Okay. Colonel Prindle, keep your ears open. One of the things I want to talk about briefly, and with the last couple of minutes we have, I don't want to forget about our Total Force partners. There is plenty of opportunity within the Total Force arena in the Guard and Reserve for our officers. If you come in and you have determined that you want to continue to serve, but you're looking for something in industry, that we are way okay with that. It is not a problem if you come into the career field and you have a desire to do something and be successful in a civilian environment. But there are still plenty of opportunities for you to continue to serve in the Guard and Reserve. And Colonel Prindle, I'd like to give you an opportunity to talk about that. If someone is jumping into the Air Force active duty and already wondering if what the future could look like outside of active duty.
Yeah, absolutely, boss. I appreciate the opportunity. To Colonel Metzger's point, we just want to retain you. We value you. We care about you. We've invested a lot of time, training, effort, and energy in you, and we want you leading our airmen, whether it's on active duty, in the Guard and Reserve. In every situation, as we execute the nation's strategic interests, it's done through the total force lens. So the Reserve in specific provides a significant amount of our air refueling capability, our intelligence capabilities, and other strategic assets. The story that I like to use is the one that I'm most familiar with, and that's mine. Came on active duty, was a scholarship cadet, spent just about 6 years on active duty, and decided that I wanted to do something else in life. So I became a civilian, and I have not looked back since. The Air Force Reserve and the Guard is designed specifically for that. You start your career on active duty, you spend the time on active duty that works for you, your personal and family dynamic, and then there's opportunities to continue serving in the Guard and Reserve. It's all critical service, it's all valuable service, and it's all fun. So what I will say, between Colonel Metzger and I, Colonel Metzger shared with you that his other half is a guardsman. I'm a reservist and been a reservist for now over 20 years. Between the two of us working with Oates team is we can answer those questions, and we are here to do it. If for some reason there's a question he and I cannot answer, we'll bring in the SMEs from the Guard and Reserve, either Chief Uruso or Colonel Logan, to get you. But the bottom line here is there is a way within the Department of the Air Force for you to continue your career up to retirement if you so desire. Over.
Thank you. The purpose behind having that little bit of conversation as well is that this is a total force team effort. And as Colonel Prindle said, your talents are valuable, and we don't want to lose that capability. And as I know, some people you're going to come in and you have no idea whether or not you want to make this a career. You have no idea what's out there, and maybe the base you get, to Captain Walter's point in the beginning, is not an ideal base that you thought you might get to go to, and no matter how hard you tried, you just couldn't turn that into an enjoyable assignment. But you still have a desire to serve in our Air Force, and there are opportunities out there. We can help find those for you. And we can retain your talent for an extended period of time. We still need officers on active duty. I'm not trying to say get on active duty and then go find something else to do. We still need that talent to stay on active duty as well. But we are a family, and we do this together, and there are opportunities out there. So that's an hour. We started at 12:30 or 11:30. We're at 12:30. Ian, is there anything else you need from us? Is there questions we didn't answer that I can do quickly?
No, sir. You're good to go.
Awesome. So thank you to the team for setting this up, allowing us the opportunity to get out and have a conversation with you. If you got to listen live, that's great. Thanks for asking some of those questions. Welcome to the two of you that are already signed up to be defenders. Best decision you ever made. Get ready to strap on your Kevlar undergarments and lead airmen across the globe in some of the coolest missions you'll ever get to be a part of. For those of you that are listening to this later, enjoy your evening while you listen to us. I hope we were able to influence some or all of you. And for those of you that we didn't get to influence, you will find at about the 2 or 3 year mark you made a bad decision, you're going to want to cross train, and we'll still take you. Oh. All right. With that, thanks again to the team for putting this together for us. I appreciate it. Out here.
Appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much.